Hey everybody, it's Kary Oberbrunner, and I have with me a intelligent entrepreneur. I heard about him for years from multiple people, and finally one day I just reached out and said, "Can we chat?" And here we are. But Nick, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? And I know we're going to talk on some very cool topics for entrepreneurs today, but give us a little backstory about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, our circles have overlapped for a while with Shannon Waller and Dan Sullivan and all the strategic coach people. So glad that we're now connected and friends. So I'm Nick Sonnenberg, and basically I'm obsessed with making companies as efficient as possible. And my company's Leverage, getleverage.com. And we help companies go remote right now because there's been such a huge transition to remote. So we're helping people a lot right now and getting set up with the systems, tools, processes, consulting them on how they can operate even better than before while remote, but by leveraging technologies that either they've never heard of or maybe they're using it, but they're just not using it to the highest and best use. So we'll go in and we'll identify. We have a framework called CPR. It stands for Communicate, Plan, and Resource. We
Ooh.
found whether you're a beginning company, two-person gas and water leak detection company, or if you're Tony Robbins or Poopery or other billion-dollar companies, every business, no matter size or industry, those were the three buckets that we found every company needs from an operational efficiency framework. So when we go in, we look at optimizing how companies communicate internally and externally, how you plan, so project management, how you collaborate, tasks and projects, and then resources, the most overlooked part, but how do you document your company's knowledge, which is critical now because you never know if your head of finance gets coronavirus tomorrow. You need to know things need to be documented or else you could really get stuck. So
Ooh, this
that's
is
my
so
company.
good.
Yeah, so that's what we do as a company. And I used to be a high frequency trader on Wall Street for 8 years. So I'm all about automation, all about, back then it was about saving microseconds. Now I'm still about saving time, and being efficient, just in a different lens.
I remember now the first time I heard about you, it was in a strategic coach workshop with Lee Brower. And Lee was talking about you, bragging you up and kind of saying, look, there's this guy who is super smart and he has been hired by big companies to save time. We have a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of people that are just starting out. But I'll tell you what, Nick, the reason why I've kind of moved from a one person show for 8 years in 2004 as an author, side hustle, side hustle, side hustle, all the way to 2012. And then all of a sudden, boom, now we've scaled. The missing piece was that I was leaking my time. How
Yeah.
much time do you think people leak as solopreneurs? And is this the secret sauce to really get to the next level?
Look,
The CPR.
I think CPR is a huge part of it, right? I don't ever promote there's a magic pill to this stuff because everyone's looking for that shiny magic pill, and you just need to hire this one person or buy this one tool and it's going to change your life. It's the sum of thousands of small things. I'll give you an example. By the way, Lee Brower is a beautiful human being. I have nothing but great things to say about Lee. He's a real special person and real added asset to the strategic coach community.
And by the way, we just shared your do you have a book out on Amazon?
I have Idea to Execution. My new book, Come Up for Air, is coming
Yeah.
out this year. But Lee and I, it's funny you bring him up. We co-host events. We have our Bullseye event this Friday that we're co-hosting.
And where can people find out, look about that?
Getleverage.com/bullseye. It's all about getting clear on your plan for 2021. So we have
getleverage.com/bullseye.
Yeah, we have our own process for how we go about planning, which is kind of unique that we've never actually shared before. So we're sharing it on Friday.
Wow, so, that is great. And here's what I'm going to do, folks. Nick's book, Mike just shared it. We're gonna buy a copy and gift it to the person who is the most engaged.
Oh,
so listen, yeah.
All right.
So the most engaged member today, tagging people, sharing this, commenting. Tell us about that book that we're giving away, by the way. What did you call it? Idea to Execution?
So actually, and then I'll answer after this the other question you had about the time savings.
CPR, yeah.
I think Idea to Execution, especially if you're just starting out, is a really important book to read. So it basically, to give you some backstory, we've pivoted a bunch of times with leverage. We started off totally different than where we ended up, but we've always been obsessed with operational efficiency. So the book is the story. Each chapter is a month for the first year of how I built the business back in. I started the company, like 2015. So it was each month. So really, it's kind of like lean startup, but really like a case study of we never raised money. We bootstrapped the company by using off-the-shelf tools, like literally leveraging Trello and Slack and Zapier and other things.
Wow.
And stitched it together on duct tape and spit and built a 7-figure business with 150 people in the first year, never raising money, by using technologies in a smart way. We never had an office. We've always been remote. So I haven't looked back at it for a while, but it's more you'll get some actual strategies, but I think the main takeaway of the book is showing people that there's so much you can do now. You don't need to think that you need to raise millions of dollars. If you're clever and you're familiar with things that are off the shelf, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's probably solutions out there that were initially meant for some other problem to solve, but if you get a little creative, you can tweak a few things, integrate it with something else, and before you know it, you're actually now have an 80-90% really good solution that you could use in 2 days rather than spending 2 years developing something custom.
I love that. That is so good. Looks like Kelly certainly wants the book. She's commenting a lot. So is Melissa. Great job, folks. So yeah, talk about that CPR then now, and how that solopreneurs can benefit.
So on average, CPR is definitely like a key foundational thing that whether you're a solopreneur or a team, you need to be thinking about. I don't think that you can scale a business to any degree if you don't have it. Because what you find as you grow, and actually being a solopreneur, there's advantages to that. The smaller you are, the less complexity you have. Team complexity in an organization scales exponentially with team size. It's actually a math formula. It's n times n plus 1 over 2 in terms of number of nodes of communication you can have inside of a team. So if you're like, I have a slide I could share it with, but if you're a 3-person team, there's 3 ways to connect. When you get to like 14 people, there's like 90 something ways to connect. When you're 100, you've already got like over 5,000 ways to connect. So what that means is as you scale, there's more opportunity for information to get lost. And I call it the scavenger hunt problem. And, was that a text to Nick, or was that a group message, or was that Slack? If it was Slack, was that in the marketing-social media channel or social media-marketing channel? Or was that in an email with different groups? And if if you've been an entrepreneur for any period of time and have a team of any size, people pretty much understand the scavenger hunt. So the CPR basically is a framework to help guide people to reduce the scavenger hunt. And ultimately, from a thinking process and positioning standpoint, companies are optimizing in general for the wrong thing. And the sooner you realize this, the easier it's going to be on you. Most companies, 99.9%, optimize to transfer information as fast as possible. And that's wrong. If you want to transfer information, you don't need any tools. Just, text everyone everything. And, nothing's going to be faster than texting you something. But what companies ought to be optimizing for is retrieval of information. And that requires a little bit more thought, a little pause, a little bit more mindfulness. Oh, I need to tell Nick to do this. What's the most appropriate place for that to happen? I'll take an extra 3 seconds of my time and put it into Asana in this project, or put it in Slack in this channel, rather than just optimizing for the transfer and texting or whatever is on my mind at the moment. And because if you take the pause and you put it in the right place, even though in the moment it's a little bit extra time, net, if you, as you scale, if you have alignment from your team in terms of when and how to use these tools, if everyone makes the mutual agreement to take pause and put it where it belongs, you're going to save exponential amounts of time net as a company and as an individual, because now in 6 months, when you have to go and find that equity conversation that you had with one random person, or, you know, what did we do last year when we were doing our taxes? We decided to do something and there was a document. Where the hell is that piece of information? You know, that could take you 5-10 hours to find. So if you just upfront spend an extra 5 to 10 seconds, you're going to be saving all these things that take people 5 to 10 hours. So I'm not claiming that this is the end all be all. It's one component to a larger picture, but it's absolutely necessary. And the sooner you do it, the better and easier life is going to be for you to scale your business. Make sense?
That was huge. That is amazing. In fact, I'm going to take 2 takeaways from that. The smaller you are, the less complexity you have. So many times, small companies or small solo gigs, they feel like we're always a disadvantage. Yeah. We're always, you know, under the big guy. But you're actually saying you have a major advantage if you can position it well.
Yeah, when I work with some of these businesses that are hundreds or thousands of people, do you know how hard it is to make any change in those companies? And they already have bad practices. They've already got a system rolled out. Now you have to start, having behavior change, and people now are used to certain things. So if you're small, it's so much quicker. And, take a pause and set this stuff up. It's not the problem with it is it's not as sexy as like marketing and sales. You tell 2 people, hey, do you want to work on your funnel and conversion and your traffic and, get like 1 million new, hits to your Instagram tomorrow? Or do you want to, automate and document some process? Like, no one wants to do that. But the thing is, it's the only way, in my opinion, that you can scale. And everything's important. I'm not taking away from the other stuff, but pretty much most companies, it's like 100% of attention on the growth and 0 on the operations. And, you can move faster in 2 ways. You can go faster forward, but you also can avoid going backwards. And especially with coronavirus, everyone here has risk that someone leaves, or if someone leaves because of coronavirus or whatever, and you don't have things documented and all their knowledge leaves out the door and you don't know what projects they were working on, it could set you back 6 months or a year. So you should be trying to grow, but you also should be thinking about not moving backwards. And this is like an insurance policy that you could buy on your company.
This is mind-blowing. And I'll get to the second point here in a moment, but Kelly, Michael, we got to just give Kelly the book, man. She's on fire. I know Melissa's catching up here, but
Hi, Kelly's
blowing up. But she says companies should be optimizing for retrieval of information. It almost sounds to me, Nick, like getting a task done in the fastest way possible is selfish and it's not team focused.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fine, I did the task, I got it done. You're saying the person should stop and say, how can I set my team up for success by putting this in the best place? Is this correct?
Yeah. And should it live in a communication tool or should it live in a project management tool? Like, there's different communication tools. You have text, you have email, you have Slack, right? When should something live in what? When should you email someone versus Slack? So for me, text should be for personal, email for external, Slack for internal. Then you take it.
Hold on. That was so deep. Say that again.
You might have to just have me back.
I do. You said text was personal. Or
text
something.
is personal. Now I'm just going to generalize it, right? Because look, if your business gets hacked and you found out that someone's embezzling money and you're at the bank and something, get a hold of someone as like, however, so I'm not saying like these are rigid rules. I'm just saying, these are, the best practices that you should try to follow as much as possible. Right. And if there's, some edge case that comes up, use your best judgment. So text should be for personal, email should be for clients and external, and something like Slack or Microsoft Teams should be for internal. Even if you don't know how to use those tools properly, even if you don't know how to get to inbox zero, even if you don't know how to use Zapier to automate messages in Slack so you turn it into a command center, or best practices for naming conventions and all that, just by doing that, at least you've reduced the complexity of the scavenger hunt by a factor of 3, because now oh, Kary told me something once. Kary's on my team. I will look in Slack. So at least you're not looking in 3 places, you're looking in one. If you really want to take it to the next level, you have to know, how do you use Slack properly with naming conventions, private versus public channels, third-party integrations, how to use it on mobile, threads, the whole bit. But you could get started just by that simple piece of advice. Now, the next thing is, those are all communication tools, and most people have no idea when to use a communication tool versus a collaboration/work management tool. And that's the next thing you have to know. If I need you to write a blog for me, that shouldn't be, even if you're on my team, that shouldn't be in Slack, because Slack is a communication tool. That should be in whatever you use for task and project management. So I'll give you an example. If you were to take your team camping in the forest, you guys would need walkie-talkies to communicate. You would also need a map to navigate out of the forest. And most businesses are mixing up their walkie-talkies with their map and crossing lines there. So a project management tool serves a different purpose. You need to know, what's the most important thing I need to work on today? What are my priorities? As an owner, you need to know what's getting done this week, this month on the business. What are the key things we're trying to hit? What's the status of a project? And there's tools built to answer these questions. Work management tools like Asana or BaseCamp or Rike or Trello or Monday. You can assign people, you can put due dates, you can put custom fields. So then you could start answering some of these questions. Text and email and Slack, it's just a running conversation. There's no button to hit to know, what do I need to work? What does Nick need to work on right now? So these tools are built for different use cases, but no one's been taught how to think about them, when to use them, and how to use them at their highest and best use. So that's what my new book, Come Up for Air's all about. It's the employee manual that you never got when you got hired.
Amazing. Hold on. I'm going to share our BaseCamp here for a second, okay? Because, again, some people are brand spanking new, some are seasoned. But can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So, folks, BaseCamp, you just said it's a, what did you say? It's a collaboration tool?
Yeah.
A communication tool?
Yeah, I mean, you can communicate in BaseCamp in these tools. So that's the nuance. But you're communicating and collaborating on a task or a project. So if there's a task in BaseCamp, write this blog due Friday, right? Yeah. And you guys want to go back and forth like, hey, I don't like the title, or did you, set up the URL? That conversation should happen on the task, because that's the most appropriate place to find the information in order to reduce the scavenger hunt. But if you're just brainstorming, for example, hey, I think we should do a blog at some point in the future because I've been seeing other people do blogs, that's Slack, because you're just brainstorming right now. There's no actionable task. So what did you want to show me with your BaseCamp?
Just for people to see it. We're talking about these tools, and some people have never seen them, but from the tool, like, I can't imagine our business without BaseCamp, without Slack. And yet, Nick, if I would have talked to you 2 years ago, do you want to know how jacked up we were 2 years ago? You ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
We kept track in Facebook Messenger as a team, because it's what we got used to. And you can't search anything in Facebook Messenger. But talk about, like,
but also risk, right? Like, imagine, someone leaves and now the new person, you have to catch them up to speed. It's you basically just toss away all the conversations you had with the person that left, because there's no way that you're going to transfer any of that information to a new person.
I'll tell you what, man, we have a big conference every year. Dan Sullivan spoke at it last year. Shannon Waller did. Mike Canings did. Oprah's matchmaker, Paul Brunson, #1 celebrity in the UK, dating show, amazing African-American gentleman who's worked for 2 billionaires. Anyway, I'm thinking, tribe, that should we invite Nick? If you think Nick should come and talk on some of these tools and give us practical training, I want you to type in the chat, Nick.
Well,
and yeah. All right.
Let's see if we get any bites.
We'll see if we get any Nicks. And look at Kelly, man. She's just blowing up.
I'm really sensitive, guys. So even if you don't think so, just write my name, or else I'm gonna, feel bad about myself for the whole day.
We got a lot of yeses. Right. We got some oh yeahs all the way from Montreal. We got Jill Jill, my friend in London. Tell us where you're from as well. Tanisha's like, hey, I'm a Nick fan. April. I just think the tribe has spoken.
Okay, let's do it.
But now let's say, will your book be out?
Well, when's the event?
October.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not out, I have a bigger problem. But
okay.
The book will be out by October.
So again, it's Get Up for, say it again. What's the title?
So the title is Come Up for Air.
Come Up for Air.
Right. And I titled it that because pretty much every business owner or entrepreneur, no matter if you're a solo entrepreneur or, $1 billion company, you ask anyone how it's going, everyone's underwater. Right. So
are you allowed to show us the cover? I know you showed it to me.
Yeah. I'll pull it up. So here's the cover.
Folks, let's hear a drum roll, man. We have Scotland. Rochelle just said
you guys are getting first look here.
First look ever. You are.
All right. So can you see my screen?
Oh, I'm gonna show it. Come Up for Air. I love the cover. It's a dude. And then what's the subtitle?
How your team can leverage systems and tools to stop drowning in work.
Oh my gosh. I already know, like, our team absolutely needs this because we can just go higher. This is a great cover too, by the way. I love the water.
Thank you.
It's experiential. Okay, fantastic. So folks, Nick, where can we hear about your podcast? Where can we find out more about you?
So the URL is getleverage.com. You could find my podcast on the website. If you're interested in some of the stuff and you're listening live right now, we have an event this Friday all about the P part, how we do planning and how do we use Asana, but also take people through our yearly planning process. So that's getleverage.com/bullseye. And if you're interested in this stuff, check out the books that you mentioned. I'm a writer for Inc., so I write articles for Inc. about future of work. So you could check that out. And those are good starts. I have a free Facebook group, Making Remote Work Actually Work. And, there's a lot of free resources that we put out that you could take advantage of on those sites.
I love it. Well, and you and I are going to definitely chat about conference, and we have people lining up to speak, asking us, but we rarely say yes to those. We go after the amazing people like you.
Well, would be my honor. Excited to do it.
Awesome. Well, Nick, this was just a true blessing. I feel like my mind is blown. I have an integrator, EOS, I think. So I have an integrator. I'm the visionary. I'm going to get with my integrator and have her watch this. Jill says, a man of the time. Again, I think you went global today, all over the world. So this will be shared on iTunes, YouTube, all kinds of things.
Awesome.
Maybe as we close the last minute, I have a real heart for people who are just starting out, because I think that a lot of times, people see you, me, other people, 7-figure, 8-figure business, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. That sounds like Disneyland. How can someone right now make a practical step today to do something that's just even super small.
How much more time do we have here? Because I could answer this in. Do we have another few minutes?
Yeah, let me look here. We got a few minutes.
All right. So there's a couple of things that if you're just starting out that I would think about. First, by far the most inefficient tool in every business is email. So one thing that we teach people is how to get to inbox zero. That can alone save you a few hours a week, right? And especially if you're a small team, probably most of your communication is going to be externally. So that is a tool that you really should become a master at, is email if you're small. The next piece of advice too is, put a value to your time. And if you're earlier on, it's okay. Maybe the hourly rate's small, but really think about every activity that you're doing that is worth less than whatever your hourly rate is. And then try to think, can I outsource it? Can I find a tool or automation to do it? But probably the most important thing actually has nothing to do with CPR. I have another acronym called ACR that stands for attraction, conversion, and retention. So this has nothing to do with tools. This is really just a principle that I created that we run leverage by. And most businesses make the mistake of going left to right in that acronym. So they first focus on attraction, then they start realizing, oh, we don't really have a sales process. Maybe we should do that. And then most companies aren't even looking at their retention. And my argument is you should go the opposite way and you should go from right to left. So think about it like this. If you have a faucet that's overflowing, the pipe's broken, most people are just mopping faster rather than trying to fix the broken pipe, right? So if you're early on, obviously you have to generate enough revenue to feed yourself and stuff. But the most important thing is, how do you get to product market fit as fast as possible? And a big way to demonstrate product market fit is via retention, especially if you're in if you're building a SaaS tool, or if you're in some type of client services. If your retention is not good, I would almost try to drop as much other things as possible and focus just on that. One of the mistakes that we made at Leverage is we grew too fast. We tapped into the strategic coach and Genius Network pipelines. We found where we find our clients. So growing was easy for us. Like, we were growing 20% new clients a month for the first year each month. The problem is we grew too fast. We didn't have the right processes. We weren't delivering the right quality. So we were losing 10, 15% a month. So good marketing was masking underlying problems. So net, we were growing 5 to 10% a month, but it wasn't sustainable, and we were just masking a bigger issue. So after I took over the company, what I did was I stopped marketing and sales completely for 18 months.
Are you serious?
I just obsessed over retention. How do we get the quality as high as possible? And so the first thing is you have to know how to calculate, and you have to have dashboards to measure all these things. But we do the bare minimum marketing still, because it took me, after I bought out my ex-business partner, over 18 months just to fix the R of ACR. And only now we're on C. And I'm not, and until we get our conversion rate to where we want it to be, I'm not going to be thinking and distracted and throwing money at marketing when we have a suboptimal conversion. I mean, it's not bad, it's decent, but I know it can be a lot better. So I want to throw gasoline on the fire once it's ready. I don't want to invest resources and potentially waste money and energy when it's basically just like mopping faster. Like, I don't want to get hundreds of phone calls a week and then we're not optimized. We're not taking advantage of that opportunity because of something broken in the conversion process. So I would say ACR, and try not to get distracted when you hear about people doing $1 million launches and millions of followers. Get your retention up, then focus on your sales process, get your conversion up. And then once that's working, look at marketing. And the last thing is you should be tracking all of your metrics, at least key metrics, and knowing the lifetime value of a client and the cost of acquiring a client, and looking at the ratio between those two, which really demonstrates the efficiency of your growth, are things that most business owners aren't looking at. And the sooner you start looking at it from that lens, the sooner you'll be able to scale.
Amazing. Amazing. I'll tell you what, I'm just being real. I came in today with this type of expectation. And I'll tell you why, because not because I didn't hear amazing things about you. I mean, Shannon put you up here, Lee Brower put you up here. But I thought, as a visionary, as a business owner, the relevance of what Nick is going to share is probably here. Like, in other words, I don't geek out on systems and processes and this type of thing, tools. But what you just showed me was you connected it. And you said, look, the stuff you do care about, Kary, if you don't have this, it's not going to exist. So I'm on fire, man.
Awesome.
I mean,
well, please give a good Yelp review to Shannon and to Lee.
I will.
But look, you can be a visionary, but if your ideas aren't seeing the light of day because of inefficiencies in your underlying processes and your team can't execute on your ideas, it's not worth anything, right? So you need all element. And I'm not claiming this is the end all be all. I don't like when people are like, oh, you just need this. This is the magic pill. You need all of it. I'm just saying this is one component that most people don't have that they need to think about.
Well, listen, I already shared, at the very beginning, I like to give value. I know your book's going to be coming out. I want to help you get that out into 18 streams of income. I know we're going to be chatting more, but this was gold. Kelly's getting a book, and sounds like our Igniting Souls conference just got a ton better because you're coming.
All right, looking forward to it, and I want to learn more about the 18 streams of income too, and how maybe you can help with the book, because I'm as smart as I am with some of this stuff. Book launches is not my expertise, so I like to find the who's to the problems, and maybe there's some help that I can get from you on that.
I'll be your who and you be my who with my team. So it's great. Thank you so much. And the whole chat is lighting up. And folks, tag a friend, tag somebody, share this. I'm tagging my whole team. And thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.